Another Wednesday is upon us, ladies and gentlemen, which means it's another episode of Manila Standard on the Road. This is your host, Milo Rivera, and joining me is none other than my co-host, Miss Dana Usan. Dana, good evening.
Good evening, Mila. How's the week been for you so far?
It's been okay naman. All has been well, all has been safe. How about you?
Good. Trying to get by this new fresh round of quarantine restrictions. Still trying to feel it out, like it's a GCQ but with slightly different classification. So
Well,
I think we're all learning as the weeks go by.
true. I mean, a lot of things have been happening for the past few weeks, for the past few months at that. And I think the topic we have for today is no exception to what we have to tackle in terms of making things much better, at least for the road, in terms of safety, in terms of great mobility. But I guess our guest for tonight will be the perfect guy to talk to when it comes to this specific concern or issue at hand.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe, Milo, with that, just so that we can get straight to introducing our guests for tonight, why don't we round up the news super quickly and then
Exactly.
let's jump right on it.
Exactly. Before anything else, ladies and gentlemen, here is our reminders from the motoring public for this week, the week of September 22, 2021. Starting off with a reminder from our friends from GAC Motor Philippines, which is applying a price adjustment, thus offering special discounts. Now, GAC Motor Philippines recently announced that it will be adjusting the standard retail prices of its vehicle lineup effective this September. As the Department of Trade and Industry dismissed the petition of general safeguard measures for imported vehicles, many car brands reverted their prices to the pre-safeguard tax. Now, other than the price adjustment, GAC Motors is also giving special discounts on its vehicle lineup. With their new promo, customers may now enjoy up to 170,000 pesos worth of discounts and much more perks at that. Ayan. So we were just from one Chinese manufacturer to another, a lot of car brands, especially the Chinese manufacturers, are offering so much just to give the people, this idea or a taste of what their cars have to offer, which, personally, I got the chance to test drive one myself last weekend, and trust me, these cars are working wonders. To be honest.
Yeah, and Milo, it's really no different from how the Korean manufacturers were, right? If you think about 2 decades ago when they were really trying to make a name for themselves in the industry, and now
Exactly.
you get the Chinese guys that are really ramping up.
No, and not to mention, the same thing actually went for the Japanese car manufacturers like Toyota. Isipin mo, Toyota now being the biggest car manufacturer in the world.
In the world.
Used to have this stigma as well back in the days of our fathers, and diba? And now it's big. So we
Yeah.
have to also consider the quality of what these brands can offer, especially now with China being the booming country that it is.
Yeah, for sure. And the fact that they can offer these at very competitive prices, right? Like, who could say no to that? Yeah, no, but I think, Milo, you had the privilege of announcing the more exciting news again for tonight. Mine is going to be not as exciting for our motorists that are tuning in today. So for the fourth straight week, it looks like, Milo, we're set for another round of oil price hikes. I think since the first time I started joining you as a co-host on the show, this has been part of our weekly roundup of the news. And
Wala
so
tayong
again,
na-report na rollback kung tutusin. Wala
uh,
tayo.
oo nga eh, puro na lang oil price hike. And so again, for all our friends that are listening, you can expect another round of oil price hikes of as much as 90 centavos per liter this week. And this is really because of higher demand globally and the lingering impact of Hurricane Ida on the production in the United States. Uni-Oil Petroleum Philippines is expecting an increase in pump prices for September 21 to 27 of 80 to 90 centavos per liter for both diesel and gasoline. So for those who gassed up yesterday, you may have already noticed the bump up in prices. And as I mentioned earlier, this move is the fourth weekly consecutive oil price increase. 4 weeks, Milo. And it's so surprising to me, at least when I think about what's driving these oil price increases. When you watch the news of extreme weather events overseas, it's easy to think that it doesn't really concern us, especially, we're dealing with our own problems here. But then you hear news like this, then you know that that's really not the case, right? As you can see from today, these scenarios that are playing out across the world have implications for us back here as well.
I completely agree. Like, a lot of intriguing things have been happening, whether good or bad. Yet one thing is for certain: a lot of these things have to touch the concerns of the people. And I think after rounding up this news for this week, our topic for tonight is no exception. So, yeah, thank you so much, Dana, for rounding up our news for this week. And with that, we will return. And after our quick break, we shall be having a very, very interesting topic at hand tonight. We'll find out what it is after this quick break. So please do stick around.
And we're back. You are still watching Manila Standard on the Road with me, Dana Uson, and my co-host, Mr. Milo Rivera.
Ayan. And saktong-sakto, like I mentioned a while ago, today's topic is very concerning to the motoring public, especially for those who want to make sure that their cars are always roadworthy when hitting the streets. Now, actually, Dana, we had an episode about this whole motor vehicle inspection center thing just a few months ago, when it was still new to the public. Actually, we had engineer Bert Swansing with us as our guest, talking about its importance in making sure that cars are roadworthy all the time. Because Dana, we've been having various types of vehicles hitting the roads. Alam mo naman, from the jeepneys of now to the guys maintaining cars from the yesteryears, which is not a problem naman, and up to the point wherein we have more modern cars hitting the road. And like I mentioned just a while ago, we had just this topic a few months ago, and since then it has drawn flack in the publicly. And I think saktong-sakto tong episode na to, since our guest will actually share his insights as to why this is really the solution, or part of the solution, that would make our cars roadworthy, thus making the streets and our roads more safe as well in general. So I guess pakilala ko na yung guest natin tonight. He is the president of the Vehicle Inspection Center Operators Association of the Philippines. Good evening to Mr. Inigo Larazabal. Good evening, Sir Inigo. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. A lot of concerned motorists are
Thank you.
Would really want to touch base on this topic, regardless of their views on it. I guess we wouldn't want to go into personal opinions for now, but obviously this the MVIC, or the implementation of MVICs around the country, has drawn flack naman talaga, sir, pagdating sa pag-i-implement nito. Hindi po ba?
Yes, it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate that it has drawn flack when it shouldn't really. As I mentioned to some of my friends earlier who asked me, this is the norm in other countries already. This is the standard. Once you renew your vehicle, you have to undergo an inspection of some sort. And this is not extraordinary. This is not unique. In fact, this is not unique to the Philippine setting. There have been one form of another of inspection. The one more stringent would be those that are being subjected to public utility vehicles, but on limited scale. I think there are only two MVIS, motor vehicle inspection system centers that are still supposedly running. One which is in LTO Central in Quezon City, and I think the other one is in Cebu. As to how those are still, but they're having difficulty maintaining these centers. And also, our vehicles are supposed to be inspected every time, only by the emission testing centers, but also in LTO district offices. That is one of the things that is being remissed, really, or being overlooked. That kailangan niyo. And then again, that is important.
Yeah. And Sir Inigo, I know Milo mentioned that we took up this topic a couple of months ago, but for our viewers that are hearing about this for the first time, could you remind us what the purpose of a motor vehicle inspection center is, and why it's important? I know you touched on it a little bit in what you had just said.
Yeah. Well, we all have to register our vehicles the same way that we all have to get a driver's license when we drive. The reason for this is, again, not only for compliance of law, but the very basic premise of it is that if you drive, the government needs to know that you yourself know how to drive, and you are familiar or abreast with the rules and the laws governing, how you should drive. Second of that, if you are to own a vehicle, or any vehicle that flies our roads, has to be properly registered. Has to be, we, the government, and everybody else should be able to trust that the vehicles flying our roads are indeed safe. And if it is in fact the vehicle that is registered, kasi pwede rin nakaw na pala yung sasakyan na yun, no? So those are very basic. Now, for you to either get a driver's license or renew your or rather register a vehicle, there are requirements, or there are certain standards to it. If you get the driver's license, first and foremost, you have to be physically fit to do that. At the very least, we have to know that you can actually see the roads. So that's why there are medical clinics to check on your physical health. For vehicles, it's the same. the government has to make sure that your vehicle is actually a running one, and the more specific term for that is roadworthy. So those are the things. Those are the basic premises. Now, a motor vehicle inspection center is really that. It's a center where you bring in your vehicles prior to registration for it to be tested. You test in our centers. We are obligated to test 73 points. We test everything. We have to make sure that from your wipers to your headlights to your car horn to obviously the more important ones, the brakes, the emission standards in your vehicles. Again, it's a long list, but it's a comprehensive list. And not everywhere else. This is what is checked more or less.
Yeah, and Sir Inigo, how is the proposed or the new MVIC different, I guess, from the old or the current emission testing system that is currently being employed by the government?
Yes, it's well, actually, Republic Act 4136 is not a new law, no. I think it's been there since the 1940s, wherein the LTO is required by government to actually inspect the vehicle. Back in 1999, the Clean Air Act was passed. So included in the inspection of the vehicle, it was required now for the emission standards of these vehicles be tested. Now the government did not have, I think, the facilities to do so. So it passed a law, included in the Clean Air Act. It included the provision of having these centers privatized. Kasi walang pera yung gobyerno at that time, so din-involve niya sa private. Pero yun nga lang, kumbaga, yung emission lang yung tinetest ng PETC, ng Private Emission Testing Center. So it started there. But in fact, in the law, in the Clean Air Act, it does say there in Section 5, I think, if I remember it correctly, it does say that until such time as a more comprehensive motor vehicle inspection system comes along, then the PETC shall do. And I think ito mga to, the more comprehensive inspection system that the said law refers to has already come with the emergence of the private motor vehicle inspection centers. The difference is that it's apples and oranges. A private motor vehicle inspection center, a PMVIC, includes the check, the small check of your vehicle. It includes it. It's one of 73 tests. Whereas in the PETC, it just tests the emission of the vehicle. It's like going to a doctor and having a comprehensive test, wherein we do the full executive checkup. In a PETC, they just probably get your temperature. So that's the best. Comparison I can give you. But again, it's apples to oranges. If we're talking about road safety, the emission testing center does not offer that. It couldn't, because by law, its creation was really just for emission standards, which again, like I said, is part of what we check to PMVIC.
Yeah, clearly, sir. It's the implementation has been there for a long time, according to Republic Act 4136, and not to mention that this MVIC system is much more comprehensive and much better. But from your opinion, sir, why is it drawing so much flack today? When it clearly it's supposed to be the better way to make things more roadworthy for our vehicles.
Yes, it has drawn flack because there has been a lot of misinformation. There are a lot of misconceptions, and unfortunately, a lot of people are resistant to change. The majority of people are resistant to change, especially if they are unfamiliar with what kind of change is coming. On top of that, as I mentioned, private emission testing centers are the existing or has been established for the past almost 2 decades. That has been the practice, and these are privately owned also. So they have been rendered obsolete quite frankly. And I think it's not easy for the operators, for private emission testing centers, to suddenly find out that they're again rendered obsolete. Kaya they are trying to fight for relevance, I guess. Pero that's why there has been a considerable cost. These people these center owners are organized. They have been preparing for this. It's not like they woke up one morning and parang they found out about this. They were aware. They were aware for a long time na talagang there was a motor vehicle inspection coming. It was either it was going to be government run or privately run. So it has arrived, and I think that's the main reason why there is some resistance. A lot of livelihoods are going to be affected by the emergence of these changes. But again, it's the public good is still has to be served. And if you look at the policy, do we tolerate just an emission testing requirement wherein we know that is insufficient? Kulang yun for us to find out if the vehicle really is deserving to be on the roads. And before kasi back when RA 4136 was placed into law, was established into law, wala pa yung mga sasakyan. There was very minimal technology then. It was, I think, during the 70s and the 80s, wherein technology equipment were now employed to do these inspections. So medyo it took some time for us to catch up. To give you an idea, 25 years ago in Brunei, there were already private motor vehicle inspection centers. In Japan, I think as early as the early 70s or the mid 70s, there was already. So of course we can argue that these were more advanced and more wealthy countries. But now even Myanmar and Laos have a motor vehicle inspection system. So it is embarrassing for us to be even debating it right now. Again, there is no debate whether sectors, congressmen, the senators do agree that this is necessary. But it's a controversy worth milking, I guess, at this unfortunate time.
Yeah. Objectively, sir, it's pretty clear. It's a clear cut that the implementation of the MVIC is more than what our vehicles need today, given that it's been implemented all over the world, if not almost all over the world. Pero siguro yung mindset mo ng Pilipino, tataas yung gagastusin ko para magrehistro ng kotse kada taon. In your opinion, sir, how do we break that stigma or that thought process for people to actually see things on a better scale or in a better light? Na this is for the good of them as well. There's a premium to it. There's a premium to the technology that comes with it. But in return, it comes with more benefits than one.
Yeah, Milo, Dana, I'm very proud of the work we've done, the past couple of months. The people who have gone to our centers and have experienced our service, overwhelmingly, and I am, overwhelmingly, they say it is a much preferred system, much preferred service. We have bigger centers. We have a minimum of 1,500 square meters by law. Many of our centers are actually operating in at least a hectare of property. We have ample parking. We have abundant facilities for the convenience of customers. Because of this, we have on time. Yeah, price-wise in the beginning, we were a bit more. We priced our service higher, 1,500 pesos, but we have reduced that already to 600 pesos. So that's a considerable reduction from price. Again, to answer to the times, we are in pandemic. We are in a pandemic right now. So we had to readjust our fees. But even still, if you go side by side with the emission center, the private emission testing center fees, they're already charging on the average 450 to 500 pesos. Ang
That's
napakaliit na lang ng
600
difference.
pesos. Yeah.
Yeah,
It doesn't
and
make much of a difference anymore.
it doesn't make much of a difference. And not only that, if you really go through it, go to a PA, no longer to go through facilitators, if you will. You don't have to do that. You just really bring your vehicle there. You go through the test. It will not take you 15 to 20 minutes to go through it. It is monitored by high definition cameras, the ATP cameras. We are required by law that's the minimum. So at the end of the test, you're done. You go to the nearest district office of the LTO and register your vehicle. You no longer have to bring it to have it inspected, supposedly. Again, because your inspection has been done already. So dun kasi yung opportunity for corruption. So a lot of people are saying that it is more expensive to go to the PMVIC. That is just by facts. No, that is just proven wrong by facts. You go to our centers, you will see the price. The price reduction has already been established. And contrary to what a lot of people are saying, that we charge for retest, that is not true. If you fail, in the event that your vehicle fails, all you need to do is bring it to the nearest talyer, your suking talyer, have the issue fixed, and you come back and you can just show your receipt and you can have your vehicle retested. And I'll take this opportunity. Again, we talk about misconceptions. Yes, there are a lot of failures. But these failures can be addressed na hindi naman mahal, cheap. For example, kadamihan sa nakikita naming bagsak are those lights, headlights. Kasi mahina na yung bombilya. Motorcycles, a lot of them have failing headlights. And the fix is really just 30 pesos. You can just buy a new bulb, and you can even install it yourself. And that's a quick fix. Now you can pass. Signal lights. A lot of signal lights or brake lights are also failing, and those are cheap. Those are cheap fixes. One of the things that is also missed is that failing brakes. Hindi naman sa walang brakes. Failing lang. Kumbaga, they're not balanced, mahina na. Of which again is a quick fix. You can just have those. You can just have your rotors cleaned, or your drum brake cleaned, or you can replace those your brake pads, and those are not expensive at all. So yun lang ang misconception, which really if you compound that, na talagang matatakot yung tao, sasabihin nila mapapagastos kami. But really, walang katumbas ang buhay. It's not only your lives, but the people, the lives who are also sharing the road out there. It's your family's lives and other people's lives. So wala talagang katumbas ang buhay. Kaya hindi ko maintindihan na bakit so many are resistant to it. Why are so many resistant to it? They shouldn't be. Even a few of our senators and a few of our congressmen, they will say kailangan to, kaya lang hindi napapanahon. Kailan ang panahon? Kasi sasabihin nila, pandemic, bakit? Are we not using our vehicles now? I visited Manila. By the way, I'm in the province. I'm not in Manila. I'm in Ormoc City, Leyte. So I visited Manila a month ago. Grabe yung traffic. So ano sinasabi nilang? What are they saying na hindi napapanahon? There have been a lot of, and if you look at the reports, the police reports, traffic accidents, it's the same. Mataas pa rin yung accidents in the roads right now.
Yeah. And Sir Inigo, I love that you touched on some of the seemingly small things, right, that people fail to miss. The brake lights, the headlights, your brakes starting to fail. And I think you're absolutely right. A lot of the misconception is that the testing is just for a fancier type of emissions testing, when actually the 600 pesos, that's what that 600 pesos covers is the emissions test plus a much higher standard evaluation. Is that right? You're looking at 72 other tests on top of the emissions test. Yeah.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And the equipment that covers that is more significant. The technology that goes into it is more significant to test a vehicle. But there are simple tests that we do that actually basically doesn't need equipment. For example, one of those tests is a horn. May busina ba yung sasakyan mo? It's really just a pass or fail. And you will be surprised that a lot of our vehicles do not have busina. A lot of our vehicles do not have seatbelts, despite the fact that we do have seatbelt laws. Those are minor things, but it adds to our safety, the overall safety of the vehicle. Doors, the physical constitution of the vehicle, whether your doors open or close properly, do you have locks? Those are things that we do not mind, but these are important. I tested the vehicle the other day. It had 4 doors, but 3 of those doors were locked. Only yung driver's side lang yung nabubuksan. Wouldn't you argue that there is a safety issue there? Diba?
Definitely.
So it was a simple fix. It was just a fuse really on the central locking system. But wouldn't you want to know that things like that can be fixed? Should be fixed?
Yeah. No, definitely. And I'm laughing, Sir Inigo, because it brings to memory some experiences from my college and high school days when I used to commute. Yung sasakay ka ng FX tapos kailangan hawak mo yung pintuan kasi kapag hindi mo siya hawak, bubukas na lang siya. And some of those
That's
things
right.
we kind of take as just a fact of life, right? But you're absolutely right that as the rest of the world moves on, and as the rest of the world subjects their own countries, their own communities to higher standards, we in the Philippines should also do the same.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And again, I do not understand the resistance to this. But I read an article not long ago that when seatbelts were mandated back in the US, I think this is back in the 60s, there was a lot of resistance to this change. There was a lot of resistance to seatbelts being mandatory. Also, I think wipers had the day, and a lot of people it was controversial to add wipers to your vehicle. So I don't understand why now that we are supposed to be more sophisticated with the information that is available. I don't know why here in the Philippines some of our leaders are still apprehensive of this requirement.
Yeah. And Sir Inigo, maybe one last for me, and then I'll turn it over to Milo. Again, you mentioned it a couple of times today. The big hurdle that it looks like we're really facing is some sort of miscommunication, right, with the consumers.
Okay.
How would you, I guess, for the benefit of our viewers today, now, how would you kind of sum it up the simplest way you could? Like, what are the top 2 or 3 benefits to making the switch? Some of the things I heard from you, for example, are it just makes the car safer and more roadworthy, as you mentioned. So 2 or 3 things that you want to be top of mind for our viewers.
For number 1 is the price. For the price of the emissions test, konting difference. But actually, I could argue even hindi rin eh. Kasi if you go to an emission test, they will charge you other things. They will require you to make certain adjustments to payment so that it will be more convenient. So that's number 1. Number 2 is really convenience. If you go to our centers and experience the service, you will say na it's a world of a difference. There's parking if it is your turn to get your vehicle tested. You'll be over in 20 minutes. It's done. The PETs right now, if you go to an emission testing center, haba ng pila, ang tagal parking. It's such a hassle, and then you have to go to the LTO to have it inspected. You have to transfer vehicles to physically bring your vehicle to the nearest LTO for it to be inspected. If you opt not to do that, there is that option, but that is outside of the law. Yun ang tawag yung no-show. You have to pay extra for that. So, again, if you just knew about that, if you actually went to our center and saw that for yourself, it's a world of a difference, I just hope that, we'd be given the opportunity to and then like I said, many of those people who were apprehensive at first and gave us a try, nakikita nila yung ano. There are a lot of we have a lot of ads in Facebook and in YouTube. Nakikita na ba nila what goes through an inspection? None of those horror stories or those exaggerated horror stories na sinasabi or kinakalat ng mga detractors ng programa. But again, overwhelmingly, those who have opted for our service have seen for themselves and experienced for themselves the huge difference. Again, it's convenient.
Yeah. So we've been talking, Sir Inigo, about why it should be implemented, why it should be part of the practice here in the country, and siguro from a current affairs point of view, a lot of investment has been made by certain sectors to materialize this, and then all of a sudden, nakat ng gobyerno, na delay, and here we are now. How has the industry or your side been affected by all of this uncertainty, changes, ito na dapat, biglang nawala na? How is it for you and the people who've actually put time and investment into this?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Milo. It's painful because we are businessmen. We were invited by government to invest in this program, and we have answered the call because, true enough, it is a good program. It is a good program. Why would you question road safety? Why would you question centers that test vehicles for roadworthiness? How is that bad or evil? It's an improvement in the current practice. So we saw the opportunity and invested. And as I said, in other countries, if you invest in their country, if you are an investor, you will be welcomed with open arms. It's frustrating. We find ourselves here having to all of a sudden defend ourselves or defend ourselves on the relevance of this program. I know the timing sucks, no? There are a lot of people, true enough, a lot of people are having difficulty in this pandemic. But again, it's a huge investment for us. We have made a lot of sacrifices to save this program. Again, a good program of government. So what I'm hoping for is for our policy makers, the people who are again doing their jobs. Even the senators are just doing their jobs on questioning this. But I hope that we be given a chance, that they actually experience what this is before saying that this program should be scuttled. Before saying this, I urge them to visit one center first before saying those things. And yun lang hinihingi namin na bago sila magsabi na mali yan, dapat hindi ganyan, dapat ganyan. Ang una kong tanong, nakapunta ka na ba? Have you actually visited PMVIC? Have you actually experienced going through an inspection? And sometimes, if you just send your driver, then, you don't know. Diba? They don't know na yung driver nila nagbayad pala nung no-show, nagbayad pala nung mga ganong conveniences. So they don't know. So that is my request, na for either if you're in government or you're in the private sector, if you have your vehicle, you're supposed to register your vehicle, give us a chance, and you will see a huge difference from before. Wala na shortcut, you won't have to pay so much for those shortcuts anymore. You'll save a lot of money. Honestly, you'll be able to save your money, and the money that you save actually will go to having, if you do find a few things wrong with your vehicle, you can actually have it fixed. Isn't that a more a better prospect, better a value for money? If we talk about value for money, diba? Mas maganda yun.
And I think personally, sir, morally it is the right thing to do. However, what you just mentioned just a few seconds ago, mawawala na yung shortcut. Ang problema, karamihan sa mga Pilipino, mahilig sa shortcut. Aminin natin.
That's true.
Diba?
No, that is true, Milo. That is true. It is a problem with our culture na kung saan sila pwedeng makasingit, kung saan sila pwedeng makalusot, gagawin nila. But it costs them money. And if our primary, what do you call this, argument for this is that pandemic at nagtitipid tayo, bakit ka willing magbayad ng 1,000 at 1,500 for those shortcuts? Diba?
Yeah.
And that is where government should really have a stronger, a stronger will. If we brag about being strong-willed or we want government to have a stronger hand, then dapat ito yung i-defend natin. Na hindi, wag mali na yung mga no-show na yan. Dapat hindi na. And again, in all fairness to the Department of Transportation, that is what they've been trying to campaign for. They've been trying to do this, no? But again, pati sila pinapahirapan yung sarili nating that Department of Transportation and ng Land Transportation Office. They see the need for this and they're trying to implement this, pero pinapahirapan mismo yung mga tauhan nila. So again, a lot of people do make money in that underground economy. So it is not easy, it is not easy to get this program established and running as it was intended to be.
I guess at this point, all we can hope for is that this gets a light is shed to certain people when it comes to how this should be a practice for all of us na. And siguro, Sir Inigo, before we end this interview, if there's anything else you would want to tell our viewers and listeners moving forward, I guess this would be the perfect time to do so.
Yeah. Thank you again for this opportunity, Milo and Dana, for your viewers to hear our side. Road safety is paramount. We all use the roads every day when we go to work, when we go to our schools, when we go to vacations. We have heard one tragedy or another. We've known our friends or family. Some of our friends and family have gone through an accident. There are 12,000 deaths annually caused by accidents in the road. A lot of those accidents in the road are caused by mechanical failures. Just a brake light, a simple brake light. One of those high causes of accidents are brake lights. Maliit na bagay lang yun, pero that could have been prevented. So these things sa halagang 600 pesos once a year or 500 pesos once a year. I'll take this opportunity to say also, ang 600 pesos, that is for private vehicles. For motorcycles, it's 500 pesos. And for jeepneys, public utility jeepneys, we only charge 300 pesos. So, i-compare mo sa PATC's emission testing, which is averaging around 450 or 500 pesos. It's negligible. It's negligible for a real inspection, for saving lives. That's nothing. And you only do that once a year. So think of it as an annual checkup, for your vehicle. I am hoping that each one of you will give this new program a chance. There are a lot of programs in government that is very easy to criticize. This one isn't. This is one of those good programs of government. I can proudly say that I am part of it.
Yeah. And Sir Inigo, I'll borrow a line from what you said earlier. Ano ba naman ang 600 pesos sa, potentially a life or two that's been saved on the road, right? And also that added trust for, I guess, all of us as motorists, knowing that the cars that are driving around us are a little bit safer because we've all gone through those precautionary checks. And so with that, I know we're getting up close to our time. Thank you so much, Sir Inigo, for taking the time to join us today and shed light on this issue. I personally have learned quite a bit, and I'm hoping that our viewers have as well.
Yeah, here in Manila Standard talaga, Dana, we advocate for road safety, and definitely this is one thing we should stress upon in order to achieve that. Because yes, it's one thing that we're here to make sure that the drivers who share the road with one another are, how do you say this, safe enough to take on the roads, but at the same time, the cars that they drive as well should be quote unquote healthy enough to share the road with each vehicle that's on the road every day. And with that, Sir Inigo, maraming salamat po talaga for joining us tonight and shedding some light to all of us on as to how this program should be better for the whole country in the vehicle and motoring sector at that. Thank you, Sir Inigo.
Thank you, Milo. Thank you, Dana.
And that concludes, ladies and gentlemen, another episode of Manila Standard on the Road. The episode might be over, but the interaction continues. You can always make a comment in any of our episodes and always use the hashtag MSOnTheRoad at that. Don't forget to also check, like, and subscribe and follow anything Manila Standard on the Road or Manila Standard at that. But for now, it's time to say goodnight. On behalf of Sir Inigo Larazabal, this is my co-host Dana Uson. This is Milo Rivera saying thank you so much, and always be safe on the road.